this earth from what they are paying for. Everybody pays taxes, or pays the government, or pays their dictator, or pays somebody to keep the streets and lights on. And it's ridiculous to ask one little guy here in America, even though my grandfather invented the forward pass in football from Vanderbilt. His name was Sam Costin.
Mm-hmm.
Wikipedia. To do this work for them for virtually nothing.
Right.
They're living up around $50,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I should be getting some kind of percentage from what I'm doing. I'm doing stuff, I should get paid for what I'm doing.
Absolutely. I agree with this.
This is high technical.
This is America.
High technical to control the weather. So I need a lawyer to help me get what I need and what the people need. Now, in order to get this, I have to sue the people. That's like suing myself. You are the people. I am the people. I'm suing myself.
Mm-hmm. That's a conundrum. That's a real dilemma.
But it needs to be done. We need to advance.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, what you're doing is you're turning on TV. Oh, I see a weather report. It says, oh, it's a big, cold storm headed my way. Next day, my house is completely knocked down. I'm in some government facility with a cup of soup, hot soup, maybe freezing to death with a blanket over. But you had a service to control the weather. You could see it coming, and it could be controlled. And you would be in your house watching TV in the Super Bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote the president. I wrote the head of
Wait, which president?
President of the first president I wrote was Carter.
Okay.
Then I wrote the next president after Carter was, but he was from Tennessee, I think. You remember his name?
A president that was from Tennessee?
Yeah, the president from Tennessee. Do you remember his name?
No, I didn't know that we had a president from Tennessee, I don't think.
We had a vice president. What was the vice president's name from Tennessee?
I don't know. I should probably know these things, but I don't, honestly. I didn't know. I would like to know that now.
Both of them were from Tennessee after Carter. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, well, who was after Nick? Are we talking about Nixon?
No, Nixon.
Kennedy.
No,
Kennedy.
Not Kennedy.
Man, I've got my chronology of presidents. I'm not good at that, honestly. I'm a little ashamed to say.
And then the next president was Bush.
Okay, hold on. Bob Dole?
Bob Dole was not a president. He may have ran.
Oh, he ran for president. Okay. Man, okay, I was a kid, man. Throw out a name. Bill Clinton?
Anyway, I wrote every president since Carter.
Right, you've sent me these, right? These are some of the documents you sent me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll put them out. We'll put them up.
And I think the reason I was chosen to control the weather is because of my grandfather. But in my family tree, he goes all the way back to Benjamin Franklin.
Okay.
So relative of Benjamin Franklin on my mom's side. This is my mother's side.
Okay.
On my and it goes back to Abraham in the Bible, which makes me a descendant of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Love.
Well, I mean, that makes sense then. It would make sense that possibly you may have these supernatural abilities put on you for these times. Times such as this.
But here is the catch-22.
Okay.
Any can be trained to control the weather.
You know what that is called? That is a real actual thing. It's called weathermancy. That's a real thing, a real occult thing called weathermancy. It's an ability that you may. It is a real thing. Also, it's a scientifically documented thing that they are doing right now. The government is doing this right now with the chemtrails and things like that. They are managing the weather and creating rain, when, and where they want it.
There you go. Okay. So there's not many people who know about controlling the weather, but I've read some other organizations are involved, and they are very expensive. They have a lot of money to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And they ask for a lot of money, and I'm asking for a decent amount of money as well. This
seems only fair.
I should be a 4-star general in the Army with a regiment working with me to control the
weather. It makes sense why there would be powers in that would try to suppress that, or or try to control or possess. You know what I'm saying? Why they would not want you to be able to have that weather or cover up that you have it. It seems like to me.
Well, the idea about an engineering degree, I'm working with an engineering degree, but
okay.
I don't have the degree. I'm using an engineering degree. I'm using a medical degree, like an MD, a doctor.
This is kind of emotional, but I'm listening.
Degrees. And that's another reason I need the lawyer to make a collection to get a promotion in the Army. Really, I'm doing the work of a 5-star general. But a 5-star general is definitely a surgeon general.
Okay.
He's got an MD license. So that's why I'm asking for 4. If they'll give me 5, I will take it.
Okay. Can I, and so let me ask, how can we support this? Obviously I know, if you want to say it or I can say it. How can we help you get, what is your fair share for this ability? And also, and the other thing I want to ask, can we pay you directly for doing this? And can we make requests?
Okay. Who can help me is a lawyer.
Okay.
Second, yes, I will take any donation from anyone. I will not turn down any money.
Okay.
Recognition from any news service, I will not turn down any recognition.
Okay.
But it's abdomen. If this weather service survives, it should have a hold on the Army for the people.
Okay.
Or let's see, an organization like Honda, that's $1 trillion organization. What is another? Do you know another $1 trillion organization?
I mean, I would think government entities are within those ballparks. There's dynasties that we don't even understand around the world, and even within the United States, that we don't see it like that. But people, families, or groups that have money and power in ways that we don't quite know about and we're not privy to. There's tons of them. And I can only speculate because I think what happens is they hide. They don't tell us that they're doing this, or we would hold them accountable.
Let me close this window to get better sound.
Okay.
Verizon. I think Verizon's close to $1 trillion organization. I'm not talking about government facilities. I'm talking about private enterprise.
Oh, okay.
Like this guy who's putting up all these satellites. What's his name?
Is that um is it Elon Musk or
Yeah, Elon Musk. He's
okay.
got somebody like that. Maybe could develop a service that I'm talking about and make everybody happy and do the best that's possible. Now that's another thing. Even if we had a service from the Army to control the weather, and let's say we get it from the Army and Honda and Verizon and Elon Musk, a combination of everyone working together to control the weather, still the weather is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
With these setbacks, people are getting hurt unbelievably by the
Absolutely.
weather. As our technology, as it's growing, the more we grow in technology, the more buildings, the fine things we create are being destroyed by the weather. And they say the weather is going to get worse in the future. Our scientists have figured that out. So we're already behind. Let's catch up, people.
Seriously, this is 2024, Year of the Dragon.
Right. We got the iPhone.
We need to take our power back from the
Right.
weather. Yes, we need to take up our weathermancy skills. Can you teach this skill?
See that? We had technology and psychic energy. We should use our technology with our psychic energy.
I agree.
And control the weather.
You're like a modern day Tesla.
There you go.
Like a creative genius with you've got such big ideas and people are probably stealing it from you and making profit off of it and not telling you. That's what happened to Tesla.
I've been thinking about monetizing all of my social media.
I think that you absolutely should, because that is at least one way that we can pay you back for what you do. And as well, you'd be teaching us how this is done so we can do it for ourselves and take our own power back. So you'd be doing a service. That would be the least we could do until we can get, people accountable for this, that we can. But for now, we can just do our best as your fans and audience to pay you back.
Right. No. Whenever I go around each day, people recognize there's something about me, but they don't know how to express themselves. So they do crazy things.
Yeah.
And these crazy things, some of them can hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
It happened in the past. physically I've been hurt. I've been stolen from. I've been cheated out of jobs. So that's another reason I need the lawyer.
Yes. There's actually I looked into this because David Liebehart was explaining exactly, not exactly, but a very similar experience. And I looked into it, and there actually is laws in where you are protecting you guys. So I'll look into that for you because there really is some codes of law that protect you, but we're going to have to maybe assert those laws for you so that you can get that because it is afforded to celebrities. That's a real thing because of what you just said. That's a very legitimate point.
Right. I went to be a lifeguard in the ocean, and when I was growing up, I took the advanced life saving permit 2 times. And then when I became a scuba diver, I got the rescue scuba diving permit, and I had to take the rescue swimming test. So I did it 3 times, that advanced lifeguard saving. And I went to get a job at the ocean, and I know they discriminated against me in the test when I was growing up.
Oh.
Things like that. Definite proof the government is illegally discriminating against me because I know that they recognize from the way they have the satellites going around the earth and the helicopters and airplanes and the way they monitor, they've been controlling the weather. And they were scared that I would be a lifeguard at the ocean because that would be a huge advancement for me.
Yeah, and you could become a whistleblower, or you could become too powerful.
Get a promotion for this service, and so they've been trying to keep me down and hurt me by my job status, my money income, also dating. I got biggest Romeo for my high school prom. I was captain of my football defense, middle linebacker. I should have been captain as the quarterback. That's another way they cheated me. My grandfather invented the forward pass in football, and when I told the coach I wanted to play quarterback, no way, Jose. Well, they were losing so many games, they had to put me as middle linebacker to stop all the advancements that the other team was making. And that season, we only lost 2 games.
Okay.
And one of the reasons we lost those 2 games was I got injured on my hip by a prank. One of my football player friends, he jumped on me when we were moving real fast, and it ripped the flesh off of my side ear. And Coach Clark, he says, "Oh, I want you to extend yourself." And so we lost 2 games, the last 3 games, because he didn't want me to extend myself. So terrible. I should have gotten a scholarship from Alabama, University of Alabama. Well, Coach Clark said, "Well, when the scouts came here, you know what they said about Tennessee? They were scared of it." How would they be scared of it? That's what he said. And he also told everyone on the team, because I came from a military school on my 9th grade, in 10th grade, I was in a military school.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I was a senior there in my hometown, I came back. Coach Clark said, "Oh, this guy, he's recon. He's already in the Marines." That's what he saw me as. And that's, you see this belt? This
Mm-hmm.
is a honor guard belt for the Army. And I was in the honor guard in military school. I was in the real Army while the Vietnam War was going on in a military school in Sweetwater, Tennessee. And if you see all the shots about the Civil War, you could see the South use these boys in military schools that I was in.
Okay.
And I still literature from the Army about their material they want to sell me. And I buy it. I buy some of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen this, but okay, you're watching TV and it's a war story, and the man goes and grabs the uniform of the other army, and so then he's in the army all of a sudden.
Okay.
You know, so that's why I'm wearing this belt. I'm already in the army whether they like it or not. But
Right. You're like a one-man army.
The regular army, real
Mm-hmm.
army. This is a real army. That's an honor guard belt. That's what that is.
Right.
The honor guard is where the soldiers march in precision. They move their guns around while they're marching, and they put it in different places all together. They even throw the gun to each other. It's very mechanized.
Yeah.
Somebody from Baton Rouge. Who do you know from Baton Rouge?
Who do I know from there? Oh, somebody's calling from there?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know any. I would like to know somebody from Baton Rouge, but I don't really.
Yeah, okay, they hung up. I think they're watching.
I get my jewelry product. I get jewelry pieces and jewelry supplies from a company there.
I think they're watching the program, and so they're trying to call in.
Oh, well, we sell. Okay, well, that could be because I've been promoting the jewelry that I've been promoting. I've been having you as an endorsement. It's like inspired by you. So that may be why.
Okay, let's do an advertisement for the jewelry. Tell them what we're going to do is make T-shirts. Okay, T-shirt, you want a pocket there.
Right.
But you don't there. You want it somewhere else. You want it maybe there. Or maybe you want it here. Or maybe you want it here on we'll put your pockets anywhere. We'll make any kind of T-shirt you want, any kind of thickness, buttons, button shirts. We'll make any kind of jewelry that you want. You describe it, we will make it.
Absolutely. He's not lying. We literally have that capability.
All right.
And we use high quality materials only. We're very affordable, and we can work within your budget and give you the best, value for your money. We specialize in personalized and custom items, higher end items. These are nice gifts, and we put them together as a package for you with including, you don't have to, but including Hallmark packet gift wrap and cards if you'd like, or we'll just sell you the items. We're flexible. Just let us know it's at Tennessee Luke Corral on Etsy. We also have some other sites that will link you to how to get in touch with us. You can go to Tennessee Luke and find out how to get in touch with Tennessee Luke, or me and my contacts and just let us know what custom item you're thinking here. Excuse me, that's my gum. What you're thinking here, and we'll help you figure out how to get what you want and work it out from there. It's custom. Everything's custom if you want, but we also have our own designs if you don't want to get that creative. You just want something, we'll figure it out for you and just let you know how much and handle it for you. So, oh, and also we also are doing cameos for Luke, as well as he gave me permission to do weather requests. He will do the best he can. He cannot promise or guarantee any weather phenomena, but he will send you out a card or something in memento of his good wishes and good vibes. We're doing cameos and weather requests if you would like. He'll do the best he can, but he will do a cameo for you regardless, for any occasion or request. And you can also find information how to do that and the different package options on our Etsy site at the Tennessee Luke Corral, or TNLUKECORRAL, Etsy. Okay. Anything else? Do you want to tell us about your Uber assault that happened the first time we went live talking about this situation? Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, we'll try. Now, I need a lawyer for personal injury, and some of it's kind of criminal. So it may be a criminal civil or just a civil. I understand that um, some of these injuries that have been put on me is people acting criminally, but they may be able to pay for it civilly.
Right. Yeah. We'll work it out as best possible. We just want healing and what's due Luke for the violation of his rights, the
So I'm in the
damages.
movie business, and a producer calls me for a show, and he pays for the Uber, and it's late at night. Work all day long. It's really hard work. It's like, I want you to sit in a certain way for extended periods of time. Is how you get a black belt in karate. You have to get in certain positions, and you have to stay there for a certain length of time. I wouldn't know this, but I had a 10th degree black belt train me, and he was asked by the President of the United States to go to China to get martial arts to this country.
Mm-hmm.
Is Franklin Lemaire. And he trained Al Thomas, who trained Chuck Norris and Benny the Jet. Well, to get the black belt in degrees, you see uh, uh, on TV how the enemy has got the good guys, and they say, okay, I'm going to blow off your friends. And he's talking to the captain, and he puts him in a device where he has to be in a certain position for a length of time. If he gets out of that position, then the explosion's going to blow up the guys, and he has to be there like that all day. Well, so I was in this. I was in this movie, working all day, and very tired at the end of the day. It was very late at night. Started very early in the morning, and because we have to be in all these positions. Well, so he calls me Uber, and there's another guy in there's a ride share, evidently. We get on the freeway, and the guy starts putting his hands on my legs. He's a giant, man. Like, here I am, down like this. I say I'm about this tall. He's way up here. He's about 6 inches over me, and I weigh about 160. and he weighs around 235. Like, but he's old, an old man. Really old. Maybe I could have beaten him up, physically, but we were on the freeway, and I couldn't do anything because if I started fighting with him, then we could have ended up in the front seat. We could have crashed. We'd both be dead. In the drive. So I did the smart thing, didn't do anything. I took his hands off me and put him back on him about 3-4 times. So then he takes out his phone and he takes out the phone, he turns on the light and starts recording. And then he starts putting his hand on me and under me like that, like he's looking for something, faking it off. Because if he gets caught, if I complain, he gets caught. He say, well, I was just looking for something. That's what I figured out later. But I didn't figure that out until around 3 days or 5 days later.
Mm-hmm.
So when he gets out, we finally let him out. I say something to the driver, and it was a girl. She complained to me back. She says, that's been happening all the time. I mean, I didn't even have to say that much to him. She already knew it.
Yeah, I know. I've been hearing about this, and there's lawsuits going on right now. So there's just because, like, we just have to find the right person to handle that, because that's wrong, and you did the right thing by reporting it. And I know that there's something that can be done about that. Like I told you, I looked into it. There are even laws specifically for celebrities for this reason. And I already know that people have been complaining for the same thing on Uber, and there's already been lawsuits. So that shouldn't, in some ways, yeah, we got to figure out something out on that. I don't know what we can figure out on that and what the liability is on that, but something has to be done.
We need a lawyer.
Yeah.
So I just barely said anything to her, and she blew off. She said, I know it's been happening all the time. I can't do anything about it.
Right. She's in a precarious position herself and in danger herself.
And she knew all about it. She recognized he was doing that. And I didn't have to say that much to her, and she knew all about it.
I understand, because as a woman, that kind of thing happens to women all the time. We're often targeted in that way, and so are celebrities like you. So I'm sorry that happened. Honestly, I do empathize with that. I think a lot of people can.
Okay, lawyers, we need a lawyer now. NOW. So I called in to the guy who hired me, and he gave me the necessary information. I went to the highway patrol, made a report. We have the report. We need the lawyer. Come on, people.
Okay, that's smart, and that's good that you did that. I think that we just need to get that to somebody, and that may be what's holding it up, and getting it to the right person. That's the difficult part of it. But once we get that handled, it should be smooth sailing. I don't think you should even have to worry about it. They know what to do. We just got to find the right person to handle it for you.
Now that's just one thing, and so this has been going on for 70 years.
Right.
I've got. I don't know if you remember, but if you've been reading Tarzan, the guy Christopher Reeves and Johnny Weissmuller, the Tarzan.
I'm related to Christopher Reeves. Not Christopher Reeve. No, I'm sorry. That's Superman. Well, the first George Reeves. George Reeves, the first Superman. Sorry. Go on, though. I'm sorry.
But anyway, these guys like Schwarzenegger and the others, they do their own stunts. And if you've read in the magazines how many injuries they have on their bodies from doing all these stunts, it is phenomenal. And that's how many injuries I have now from controlling the weather, doing this service for the people for free.
I can imagine. I can only imagine.
And most of these injuries on me right now is illegal discrimination, like this guy trying to put his hands all over me.
Okay.
Because believe me, he wasn't on the freeway all the time, and I was knocking him off, and I got the injuries back from it. But when you're moving at high speeds and your best friend jumps on your back and you hit the pavement going 50 miles an hour or so, that's going to put a personal injury on you. It'll knock you out of your football games. They'll plague you for the rest of your life. Unless you got upscale money to try and get a upscale environment to get out of that.
Right. I completely understand, because I think in the legal category, even though I'm not saying that you have a disability, but I believe in this circumstance it would count as like someone having a disability, in that it creates problems for them that get in the way of their life that they can't help, and it's literally like a hazard. Like they literally have an obstacle that other people don't have. I think it would fall under that legal category. So that may be what we need to be looking at, the type of lawyer that can help us, because it would fall under those laws. This is just my thinking on this. I want to put out there that may be helpful.
You're not working, these injuries are going to come on you. You're working.
Exactly. It creates disabilities.
Right. You're not working, then these injuries, these created disabilities are going to fall on you.
Right.
You're working, these injuries on you are going to fall off of you. And the people right now are getting in the way of my work. I'm not able to work if the swimming coach at the beach sees me as a Superman.
Right.
Controlling there. So I'm not going to give him a job.
Exactly. It's literally the same as disability law, in that people with disabilities, that's how employers view them, and it's the same thing for you, and it even creates a disability for you. So I think that would be what it falls under.
Not going to work every day is just like being hit by kryptonite.
Right. I understand completely.
Every day, kryptonite, every day.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's close this up. I think we talked enough.
Okay.
I'm calling a lawyer every day. I'm sending Christopher Reeves, who I'm calling. Christopher's going to back up with them.
Christopher Reeves, but isn't he dead?
Wiped out by
Excuse me, Christopher Reeve? Isn't he dead?
Nobody does.
Oh.
So we need service to control the weather.
Oh, okay. Man, this is kind of mind-blowing. So forgive me. It's to hear this.
Right. That's about the skinny of it. That's just a few. We talked around 45 minutes or over a half hour.
Yeah, about 45 minutes.
It's been going on 70 years.
Man, yeah, this is a trip. I can only imagine. I feel traumatized just hearing all this. I can only imagine what you've experienced and how you're dealing with it. You really are like a superhero.
Well, I tell you, the Northridge earthquake, when that bridge was in the middle of the night, people were going off that bridge. Let me tell you. You remember that, newscast?
No, but I remember you mentioning that to me and how traumatized you were by that.
Well, Northridge was one of the bigger earthquakes that was dramatic in how it would kill people. In the middle of the night it came. And some of these super highways in Los Angeles City goes way above the ground, like it's
right. It's the city on a hill.
So the cars were coming like that in the middle of the night. They were just shooting right off into the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's a good thing to end on.
All right.
Okay,
Talk.
so thank you, Tennessee Luke, and I will update everybody on how to uh, support you and help you get this figured out the best I can.
All right.
Okay, all right. Talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Have a great Super Bowl and a happy Year of the Dragon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Ciao. Okay, so there you have it, folks. This is not the first absolutely production star, an Adult Swim actor that has told me testified similar things to me since I've personally known them in 2019. Well, uh, another David Lee Bahart. I first I first met him in 2019, or was it through social media and getting in touch with his manager, self-appointed manager, um, and started. Well, I asked. They were going on tour, and there was an empty slot in Memphis, and I wanted to go to that show, and they didn't have one set up yet. So I'm like, okay, well, you need to please tell us because I want to go to it. If you need help with that, I will set it up myself because we need this to happen, and I can't afford to go to Nashville right now. I want to have it here, so let's. I guess for as much as it ended up costing me, I definitely could have afforded to go, um, but that's neither here nor there now. It was so fun, and I got to meet David in real life and got to really get to know him personally as a person, and was we became instant friends. I don't even know how to explain it, but when I first watched Tim and Eric, me and my brother just both when it first came out, or when we first watched it. I don't know if we were a little late to the party, possibly, but or it was right when it first started. But when we first discovered it together, when we saw David come on, I think my brother was the one that made me hip to it. And then when I saw it, I was like, "What is this?" And I was addicted. And then my brother, sorry, I shouldn't have gum in my mouth while I'm talking on YouTube, but I'll take it out. Um, okay, so I me and my brother were watching it, and David Lee Bahart came on with Jason, and we both just looked at each other at the same time, going like this, because it was like I I felt it at that time, and I knew me and my brother, we don't always get along, but we are extremely connected, and can often share a same mind. I guess because we grew up together, and we're almost like twins. We're not twins, but we're pretty close apart. We look very much alike, act a lot alike in certain ways, but we're very different all too. But the main thing is, we're so much alike. It can be volatile. I don't try to be like that, but I can't control the other end of it. But that's another story. Point is, we connected, like just both knew what each other was thinking. Who is, and I think he even said, "Who is that?" And I was thinking, "Who is this guy?" Because I felt like I knew this guy from somewhere. Like I knew him. Like I met him before. I can't explain it, but that's how I felt. Like And what I think that is I think he's just a kindred spirit. Okay, I don't know what that is. Perhaps I was destined to meet him, and me and David, we've talked about this a lot. He has said some similar ideas or expressed some similar ideas about me, and that he knows me from somewhere. And his explanation is that he thinks that his family members from beyond the grave really like me. They really like me, um and that because and what he's told me in the past, it's very heartwarming and sweet, is that he told me that I help him stand up to himself, and he means stand up for himself, I believe. He often calls me Christine Reed. So if you hear him talking about Christine Reed, he means me. And for as long as I've known him, he's always, it doesn't matter how many times he says that, he ends up saying that. He'll even spell it like that when he sends me mail, but it's fine. I know who Christine Reed is. He can call me that if he wants. But just so you know, that's me. But he'll, if you hear that name, he's probably talking smack about me. And I would like to explain that right now, because um, he he's upset. He's upset right now. I don't know if he's truly upset with me, or he's upset and throwing me under the bus because he's being so badly abused and um, gaslighted, possibly, very probably lied to, because it's happened so many times in the past where they've gone to extremes to get him to stop talking to me because of the things that I'm not trying to, I never intended to instigate some kind of issue, because, and for a long time, I legitimately helped continue it by sweeping it under the rug and or turning or keeping it quiet, like David was kept telling me to. Excuse me, I'm getting the hiccups or burping. Excuse me. Um, and it really bothered my conscience in that. And the only reason I did was because he asked me to keep it confident, and regardless of that, the reason even though I felt like it was something that I try to keep things confident that he asked me to, but I have to say the truth. And if something needs to be said that is not right, if something needs to come to light that's going on, that's harming someone or an animal, causing some just kind of destruction, that's when the line is drawn for me, in that secrets keep us sick. And it it needs to come out. And regardless of how you feel about the people involved, um and I like, wrong is wrong, and hurting is hurting people, and if you don't do something, it's perpetuating it. If sometimes you can't, because it's not safe to, for you or that other person, if you were to intervene. And that's how these kind of things get weird. And that's kind of where I was, because I don't know what to believe. It's hearsay at that point with him, that him telling me all these crazy things going on with them. And they're kind of heroes to me too. I'm a huge fan of them. um Me and my brother both, and me and my brother having the volatile relationship that we do, connect on that, in that basically we just have a similar sense of humor, I guess you could say. I don't know. But we're both fans of that and kind of connect on that. And even if we're arguing, if that comes on, we're connecting, and it kind of reconnected us for a while there. Not only that, but David was a mentor to me, honest to God. um I don't have a dad. I mean, I do, but I don't have a relationship with my dad, and it's there's a lot of issues with that for me, okay? And that I know it's sad sounding or whatever, but it's a dark square in my quilt that I have some issues on that. I have some daddy issues, I guess you could say. And David and me have what he describes as um, a school teacher relationship, and I like to rephrase that and say an appropriate school teacher relationship, because not all school teacher relationships are appropriate. So I just want to make that disclaimer in that David means an appropriate school teacher relationship. We have a school teacher relationship. And he established that boundary right from the get-go, many, many times. Not that I ever suggested anything otherwise or pursued anything otherwise. Um, he just adamantly pointed it out many a time, to the point that it's almost insulting, to be honest. But it's also endearing and comforting to me in that I don't feel molested, or I don't feel like he's ever trying to take that mentorship beyond into something inappropriate and predatory on his part. He is. I look up to him like a dad, like my puppet dad, like a puppet dad. And all of his fans that I've ever met say the same thing. He's like their dad. He's like the dad for all the broken adults that don't have dads, or that have some kind of problem with their dad, that they just need a dad figure to kind of fill in, for their black square in their quilt. Okay, so that is what David it represents to me. He's like the happy, colorful square on the quilt of the square that my real dad should have represented. Okay, so, and I think I probably a lot of most, if not all of his fans can relate to that, or at least see where somebody would get that vibe from him, or be comforted in that way by him, because he's so wholesome and interesting. He is interesting. Uh, and he's just wholesome and wants to be a good uh example to his fans, and teach his fans about God, about not doing drugs, staying in school, and obeying your parents, and being a strong Christian, and doing the right thing. And he likes to share his personal religious ideas, through puppetry. And this is also a very interesting fact about him. And I'm sorry for diverting over to David Lieberhart, and we'll get back to Tennessee and how this relates. Um, but uh, Also, though, I just think it's interesting that a lot of people probably may not know is that he gets some of his puppets, got them from Jim Henson himself. Back in the 70s, Jim Henson was David's Sunday school teacher at the Christian Science Church there in LA, before he got really big on Sesame Street and everything. So, uh, and David apparently loved that so much, and Jim Henson kind of took him under his wing, and taught him puppetry. And when he stopped doing the Christian Science Sunday School with the puppets, which was some kind of junior Christian Bible lesson, junior Christian Science Bible lesson thing. It's called something like that. That David had to stop using it, using the name, and call it the junior date. Junior, he's called it different things. Junior Christian Bible Lessons is the basic name of it. He does he does Christian Science lessons, or basically Bible lessons with a Christian Science background, um, that he calls the Junior Christian Bible Lesson Show. It's a Bible lesson show for kids, but it's really more for adults, honestly, in that adults like it more than kids, but he's wholesome enough for kids, if that makes sense. However, it's one thing that I noticed even from the beginning, and then I heard rumors that my suspicions or red flag or alarm bells were going off for possibly a reason. It was confirming those observations that I thought perhaps this is a man who's being exploited and possibly even corrupted in a way that's opposite of what he's trying to come across, and which if he signed up for and to allow, I mean, that's what Hollywood, that's Hollywood. That's what it does. So I can't, however, based on what David has told me, it is a horror show, shit show, nightmare of how that all came into fruition. He is extremely traumatized about it. I believe he was exploited terribly for some of his mental illness and disabilities that he has. And it's so bad to the point that it colored how I see about Tim and Eric. And I'm very emotional about it. Okay. I built this channel to bring this to light because back in 2019, David started telling me this stuff and told me to put it on the internet. Okay. And I didn't want to put on the internet something that wasn't true, that was as terrible as what he was saying, until I could prove or had at least enough evidence myself to believe it. Because to the point that somebody, like, if it's not true, then it could be worked out and I will apologize. Does that make sense? But if it is true, it's really serious. And he and other people, in my opinion, are owed an apology and compensation. Like help, okay? It's not about compensation, okay? Please understand me. It's a matter of justice. It's a matter of, I saw the damage that was done to a point that it broke my heart. Like literally, okay? Broke my heart, David Leba heart, but also hurt my feelings. It upset me a lot to see somebody that terrified and that broken down and desperate as David was from 2019 to, from what I can tell now. Hold on. Hello? Oh, does it have a thing there for you to, where it says to download, where you can download it? Um, yeah, does it have sometimes it takes a little time to process the lives. So it may not be showing a button yet where you can download it or upload it, what no, download it, where you can download it onto your device or computer or whatever. So if it doesn't have that button yet, don't worry about it and just do it later. But you should be able to download it when it's ready, and then you can. Do you remember how to do Google Drive and upload it to Google Drive once you've downloaded it? Yeah. Do you see the button I'm talking about? That sounds about right. But mine messed up at first and I had to start over. So mine's not completely accurate, but it doesn't matter. It's about that time. It's about that time. I got most of it. Yeah. So so that's it's just saying it automatically saves and will stay there for at least 30 days unless you save it some other kind of way. So do you see a button where it says download? Okay, it's just not ready. It's just processing. So it may take a few hours or a day and may be ready tomorrow. So just keep watching it, and when it's ready, if you need help from there, just let me know. Otherwise, it'll you just gotta wait. It's just still processing. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Bye. That was Tennessee. Okay. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but I think what I was saying was that it broke my heart, and to hear that these guys that I honestly put on a pedestal in my mind and was like I was promoting as a fan and laughing at and clapping at what sounds like, based on what he's telling me, they're monsters, and they're cruel, and they hurt him in a way that I can see clearly with my eyes when I met him, as well as all the like the entire time, like to well, I mean, it counts until now because he's still the same exact. Is still like this. He's still like this. He's terrified of them. He is absolutely terrified, out of his mind. Out of his mind. Was he out of his mind before he met them, or did he go out of his mind um, because of them? Who can say? At this point, it's that bad. How I see it. That's how I see it. And that's the questions that I'd like the answers to, so that I can have some closure in my mind that they either are or they aren't these things that he has told me. And it's really bad things. There are things that are deeply traumatizing to me because there are things that I have trauma about already. I did already before I ever knew any of this, but now that I know this, it's corrupted my view of an outlet of therapy for me to make me laugh, that I use to deal with my trauma. And now it's a source of trauma. Does that make any sense? I don't know if that makes any sense, but if you have any kind of legitimate trauma injury, um I'm talking about emotional trauma, but probably physical too, because that's very emotionally traumatizing too usually. But it really, like, humor is a source of therapy for me. It's a go-to source of therapy for me when I'm having a dysregulation or episode of extreme symptoms of that traumatic injury causes. Um, it calms me down and brings me back to reality, and um, you know, my normal self, if there is such a thing, because I don't think I'm normal, but that's normal to be abnormal. So you know what I'm saying. Back to the pardon me, the I have a very bad allergy nose right now. But bring me back to the middle ground Christina that I normally am. I can't think of the word that is. There's a word for that, and I can't think of it. But anyway, you understand. It's the middle of the pH there. The equilibrium. I don't know. Anyway, I think people could probably figure out what kind of shit I'm stepping in. But it's a so it's a moral. It was and still is a moral dilemma. And for a long time, for me, I couldn't even talk about it for the last since 2022. No, 2021. Since 2021, honestly, I've not been able to talk about it um, because it was so upsetting to me to even go back into it. And I was so obsessed with the situation that I just sound like a crazy person, like he does. He sounds like a madman, like he does, because I'm starting to, get into all of these dark rabbit holes that I don't know what's true and what's not anymore. And I'm starting to believe anything and everything could be the truth. And it's a terrifying dark rabbit hole that I got caught up in, and I really had to step back and say, Christine, this is driving you mad now. And let me tell you, I would liken it to the movie. Someone introduced this movie to me not too long ago. It's called Under the Silver Lake, 1928. Under the Under the Silver Lake. I don't know what 1928 has to do with that. I'm obsessed with this movie now. It opened up a whole other new rabbit hole for me to understand more about it. But if you've ever seen that movie, you should know what I'm talking about. I feel like the girl under the silver lake. I feel like David was the girl under the silver lake. I became obsessed like that guy. Okay, I became obsessed with understanding all these what he some of the things that he's telling me that he's experiencing, has witnessed, experienced, and what is going on within Hollywood. And it is scary, crazy, unbelievable at times. And I've looked into it to see because he is very convinced and he believes it 100% what he's saying. And it has to stem from some truth somewhere. This is just my analysis. I mean, as a nobody, from what I experienced, um, that it has to stem from something that is true, that he has seen or experienced, and why he sees things the way he does. Because David does not lie, or if he does lie, it is because he's in some kind of situation where he is terrified and feels that he is being made to for his own personal safety or well-being or someone else's. To Those are the only two reasons, as far as I've known him personally myself, and I work with him on a daily basis, often hourly basis. He would be calling me with different situations that he needed assistance with that he couldn't manage on his own, and they were legitimate, that he really couldn't. It was to the point of, excuse me, it was to the point of it was beyond what he could deal with at that time. And no, I don't see how anyone could have, with the overwhelming amount of problems that he was dealing with at one time and being actively sabotaged, it seemed to me. From what I could, at first, I thought he was just paranoid or crazy or something, and I lovingly listened and gave him the benefit of the doubt, but I didn't want to make assumptions just believing what the terrible things that he's saying about others, what they're doing or not doing that they should be doing, that are, I mean, criminal at this point, criminal as well as civil, but criminal even. And I don't want to make allegations like that about, especially about people that I really like, I think are hilarious, and I have such a, I need them as a resource for my mental health, is how I was using that. And then to realize that it is like, and then for it to become a source of my dysregulation and my trauma stuff that I need some kind of escape from. And I don't have, I like, that's one of, I mean, there are others. They're not my only one, but they were a go-to for me. Okay. And they're not anymore. And it was a source of unity between me and my brother. And me and my brother are not on good terms anymore. And I'm no longer associated with them anymore because David and Tennessee aren't anymore. And David blames it on me because I started to ruffled feathers. I kicked the hornet's nest. I'm the girl that kicked the hornet's nest. Literally. That's what he thinks. Like, that's what he said. I mean, he says I kicked the hornet's nest, and that Tim and Eric are mad at him and fired him because I was telling people on the internet all the things that he told me to tell. But then he would tell me to say that it's not coming from him. And I'm like, I can't just say these things if they're not coming from you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't just say that. Either I have to explain how I know this and where I'm getting the information from, or I can't say it because it could be not true, or it's not that. Like, they're not going to believe me. Nobody's going to believe me. This is crazy. It's hard enough for me to believe about them. I don't want to believe it. And people have cognitive dissonance. When you tell them something that they don't want to believe and they already have it set in their mind and it's not true, it is more common than not that people will literally, it's like Stockholm syndrome. They will defend the people you're accusing. They will attack you, go after you for speaking ill of someone or something that they really like because of cognitive dissonance, that it's traumatic for them to accept the possibility that they are perpetuating, and they can't deal with the trauma. And it's not even that they're intending to be selfish in that way. It's just a natural trauma response that more often than not people will revert to and just not believe it. Just even if you can prove it to them, they will often still dig their heels in because they're traumatized by it. They don't want to believe it. And there's nothing you can do about that. You just don't take it personal. And I'm just telling you on the back end of it what it will do to you if you do, and it will wear you down. And so anyhow, long story short, I'm sorry for digressing into another person because we are talking about Tennessee here, but it relates to the fact that this is how I even associate with Tennessee at all. How this led to that. I was merchandising for David and helping him with his social media accounts, along with literally everything in his life, very, very personal things that anyone could take advantage of him about, for allowing them to know or handle for him, that I almost didn't want to do it, and avoided doing it if I could, until he constantly insisted, number one, and I was put into points where if I didn't, somebody else nefarious would, or it wouldn't get done. So it basically almost went into a point of basically I was his personal assistant, um, and had to just do a lot of basic things that basically a daughter or a family member should, he doesn't have a daughter, he doesn't have kids. A family member should be handling the things that I was doing, is what I'm saying. It's not, I felt like I shouldn't be handling these things. Somebody in his family should be handling these things, but there was nobody. No one in his family would, and he begged me, and somebody has to. It was a good Samaritan situation, is the only way I can explain it, is that I just, what else can you, I prayed about it and just did what needed to be done, and just, but normally I would just find that the actual professional help that he needed. That's all I was really doing. It's just that what I was doing was something that a family member should be doing. That's just morally, I should not be doing it unless nobody else would. And that was the situation at that point. That really, we should have had some kind of power of attorney type thing written up, but it just never came to that. To necessary. I handled it without needing that, but it was at the point where in some cases I would have needed that to help him with the things he was asking me, and he would often not understand what I'm talking about, and he just anyway, it's just a sad situation because he is a highly intelligent, highly creative man, and such such a fun and sweet, good-natured guy. He's got his dark sides, okay? I will tell you that. He is not a perfect person. None of us are. And he has done some things and said some things that is not fair and cruel, in my opinion, to me. Especially considering everything I've done for him, but I understand the pressure he's under and how badly he's persecuted for standing up for himself and for any kind of contact with me whatsoever at this point. First, they used to allow it. Now they don't allow it. They have no legal right to stop him. But if Jonah or Tim and Eric says he can't talk to me, he can't talk to me. If they tell him he can't do something, he can't do something. If they tell him he needs or has to do something, regardless of if they pay him or not, and they often, if not usually, don't, and when they do, I would have to, I would gamble to speculate they don't pay him fairly in most, if not all cases, and never have. Um, then that's what Tim and Eric or Jonah say goes, is how it is with David, and it's always been like that since I first met him. And he is terrified to stand up to them, and he's terrified to go against anything they said. And I've been a Karen thorn in their side from day one since I met David. The first thing that David did when he physically met me in person, other than speaking to me on the phone when he would have issues with his manager. At first, it was just his manager, but then he started telling me the issues and the things going on at Absolutely Production behind the scenes that I could see that being possible, but they were so horrible that I didn't want to believe them. Okay, and so I just told myself, okay, this is a man that is either confused or I didn't get the feeling that he was lying by any way, shape, or means, even though his manager would always claim that he's lying. I've never caught David in a lie, except in times where David confessed to me that he literally lied on recording because they made him say something, a script of something to say to me that wasn't true, or about me that wasn't true. And then he would call me afterwards and tell me that he did it and tell me it's not true and don't believe it and why he did that. The only other time that David's ever told me something that's not true was because he believed something to be true and told me in the way that he saw it and perceived things. Whether or not that was the reality is debatable, but he's never told me anything that was blatantly not true on purpose, because he's got a strong moral compass and a conscience, because he's a Christian and he really wholeheartedly believes his religious, that he's very passionate about his beliefs. I'm the same way. So, regardless if it's the same or different, I share a lot of his beliefs, honestly. And a lot of people don't like that and push back on that and ridicule me for that and don't believe it or whatever. And so I completely understand that and relate to that, and which is part of why I bond with him and I like him, because I can relate, and he listens to me and some of my things that I believe in. We believe a lot of similar things. He just has different take on it sometimes of how to explain it, but we believe in a lot of similar things that we just might view it how it some of the details, okay? But the reason is because ever since I've known him, I've looked into everything he's told me that was questionable or hard to believe, and he's telling the truth. It just may be sometimes, it might be exaggerated. I don't think it's that he's doing that on purpose. I think that he is just very charismatic and he has a creative way of seeing things. And but he is never, but you can tell if you're emotionally intelligent, you can, especially if you're empathetic, you can tell when someone's telling you things that they truly believe and when they're lying to you. And the way everything that he's ever told me, he says it in a convincing enough way that I know he believes it. And he really feels upset, or, however he feels it a lot. And to the point that he has to tell me compulsively. And that's been my relationship with him, where he will call me and tell on people that are mean to him or bad to him or bully him, basically. And I would just, the best that I could as a friend, uh give him my perspective on, just basically beef him up, not beef him up. But that's a good word for it. It fits, but I'm in his corner, so he feels supported. Okay, because a lot of it is just he's bullied a lot and taken advantage a lot because of his nature, and there's nobody looking out for him. He doesn't have family looking out for him. He doesn't have kids. He's just got those puppets, and they're like his kids to him. And he's got this passion. Oh, that's where I was getting to Jim Henson. He has a mission given to him by Jim Henson to carry out the Christian Science Junior Bible Lesson show. Okay? And that is been his mission and passion since he started that show on the local channel in LA that is no longer exists, but he was there from the beginning to the end of that local program and kept his junior Christian Bible lessons going, to the point that he was very much a local celebrity before Tim and Eric ever, you know, became anything. Okay. Um, and I don't know how long Tim and Eric were a part of that or not. I haven't really looked into it. Maybe I should. That would be interesting to know. Maybe they were on it as long as him. I assume not, but maybe they led him to that. So maybe some of my theories are not as bad as I think, but I think that David, as well as Tennessee Luke and some of the other actors that were involved creatively with that show, Tim and Eric, and Absolute Productions in general, many of the concepts, many of the things that they say, are things that I'm not going to say stolen, because this has led to me actually working in the legal field now. As not I'm not a lawyer, okay, and I'm not giving legal advice. This is stuff, feel free to argue with me about this or correct me on anything that I'm saying, but at least show me where I'm wrong so I can, know and not, say the wrong thing or think the wrong thing. But from what I've looked into it, um uh intellectual property, I work for intellectual property lawyer right now, but also I was working with a general lawyer in LA, um dealing with contracts and things like that, not necessarily intellectual property, but she did have a client. One of the Beach Boys was a client of hers, um something to do with contracts. I don't know what, and I wouldn't say if I did, but um point is, it led to that when things went sour with me and David, because so many things is such drama, and it's so hard for me to talk about because I get really upset. I get very, very upset. I can't even finish, okay? And I just look crazy. So I'm just trying to be more calm about this, and so that I can get out the information that people need to know about, because then I can have some closure. It's selfish in that way for me, in that I need closure on this. I need to know it's not happening anymore, or wasn't ever happening at all, and and David psyched me out. That's what I'd like to believe, that David psyched me out and my fears are not true. But I'm so affected by it at this point that I can't let it go. I need to know either this isn't happening or it's no longer happening, and I need to see justice. I need to see David, Tennessee, and anyone else, myself, myself, and I didn't mean to say myself twice. I was just repeating myself. That doesn't count in percentage wise or anything like that. The point is, those are the only people that I know for a fact are affected by some of their reckless and honestly criminal behavior. Intentionally cruel behavior is what it seems like to me. That is just unnecessary. But it may be because they're so desperate to cover up some things that, they'll resort to anything because they know the consequences are severe. And I believe that other people have already been holding them accountable in the legal system that you're not told about, we're not told about. I've been told some things, but it's hearsay. I've explored into some things. Some things are true that I know, and others I believe. I believe. But I don't want to spread rumors that are wrong. I only want to know what is true and not true. And most importantly, beyond anything else, is to make sure everybody's okay. And if they're not okay, we make it okay for them. Because David is an older man now. I had to sign him up for his Social Security during the pandemic, and get just a whole lot of other personal things that he should not have had to, even resources he shouldn't have had to resort to, is basically what I had to do for him. So no one can argue for me this didn't happen, because I handled it. And I'm not saying that to say, "Oh, look what I did." I'm saying that I'm a witness that I know for a fact this is true, because I had to handle it my own self, because nobody else would that should have. Especially if you're a manager, or if you have an employee, or they're under a contract with you. I was doing their job, essentially, to a point that it was it was beyond just not doing your job. It was to the point of cruelty and neglect, and uh like neglect of duty to care. and just like violating his rights and mine. At first, it wasn't, it had nothing to do with me other than David asked me to get involved. And I didn't want to, but he was so desperate that I felt like somebody's got to. If I'm the only one that is willing to, okay, fine. What do you want me to say? And that's what I did. And ever since, it has been a nightmare with a war between me and Jonah, David's manager, and Absolutely Productions. And when I say that, I don't know what's really true other than what David tells me and what I've experienced and what has happened and who is David saying is to blame or what I have seen who's to blame. Like either I know for myself who's to blame or David's telling me is the source of blame. So that's what I have to go by. And so I'm saying Absolute Productions, I'm not saying every single employee at Absolutely Productions. I'm saying the main ones that make the decisions. 5 guys. It's 5 guys. One of them has recently changed into a woman since the production of I Love David. We're talking about the creative director here of I Love David. I don't know what his name was before. If this, I don't believe it's it was his real birth name, but he goes by Vera Drew now, and he was very much a presenting man. From what David tells me, was a man who was married with children, who left his wife and children to become a woman. And this was recently after the production of I Love David, and this person, I believe, is on camera at speaking to David in the beginning of the first episode of I Love David as the creative director, but they don't say this is the creative director. They only give credits to the creative director while he's in camera. And I believe this is what I believe. I don't know, but the reason I believe that has happened, that they do it like that, is because Vera Drew probably transitioned to female after that was made and doesn't want to present. We're just going to go with herself to make it easy. She doesn't want to present herself as her former self as a man and get credit that way. She wants credit, but she doesn't want to get credit in that show as herself when she was a he. Okay? I know it's complicated, but anyway, Tim Heidecker, Eric Wareheim, Jonah Motion. I don't know if that's his real name, Jonah Motion, or not, but it's spelled Moción, or there may be a U in there. I don't know, but it's pronounced Motion, or at least that's how David pronounces it. It looks like Moskian is what, if you were to like read it and spell it, it looks like Moskian, in my opinion, is what it looks like. It would be pronounced. That's what I used to call him. And David told me it's Motion. So Jonah Motion. It doesn't look like it says Motion to me, but okay. Anyway, Jonah Motion, which calls himself David's manager, and sometimes David refers to him as that simply because Jonah refers to himself that way, and David just goes along with whatever he's told by David or Tim and Eric. When I say Tim and Eric, this is what David's telling me Tim and Eric said. He always says Tim and Eric said. But they are often telling him what he can and cannot do, basically. They tell him what he can and cannot say. They tell him what he can and cannot do. And I've asked David, do you have some kind of contract saying that you can or cannot say these things or do these things? And he doesn't. The only contract he has is with, or did have, was with Cartoon Network and their affiliated companies. not I don't even think necessarily it was with Absolute Productions, but maybe. I don't know. I can't say. I don't know. I didn't look at any paperwork or documents. I only know what David told me, and that his contracts were not with them personally, to the point that they have the right to censor him or tell him what he's allowed to say or do personally, or or not only that, but I know they don't have a right, unless it's specified in the contract that David has agreed to because he's being compensated fairly by law. If there was something in the contract saying that they could censor what he says because they agree to pay him this amount or something like that, and they follow through with that, then maybe it's legally allowed for them to tell him what he can and cannot do personally to make money for himself, or just speak the truth of what he says, thinks, or feels, or what happens to him, or just basic freedom of speech, allowed to have his own opinions. Um, if they deem it controversial or they just don't want him to say it. I don't think there's any legal reason why they could stop him from that I know of, other than a contract that is a fair contract and they're holding the other up into the bargain. And I know that's not going on. I know for a fact it's not going on. If there's a contract, I know for a fact they're not holding up their end. Or if they are, then the contract in and of itself is unfair and illegal, because he's not being compensated fairly. He's not, and he's in a desperate state, and he blames it on Tim and Eric and Jonah and Joey Lyons and Vera Drew. Vera Drew is the creative director that became a woman, is now a woman and presenting as a woman, who made threats to me after becoming a woman, bullying me out of any possibility of working with David, on his show that was his show. He was the executive producer of that. The contract was with him. I know this. What I say, I know for a fact that this is what David told me and what was going on at the time when we were working together, and what he told me happened and how it was affected. So I have reason to believe that what he is saying, I have no reason to believe that it wasn't true because of the effects, if that makes sense. But basically, David presented that for his show, they had just gotten a signed contract for the second episode of I Love David. And supposedly he got another contract, I believe, for Beef House, for the next season of Beef House. This is what he told me back sometime between 2019 and 2022. I believe 2021-ish, but it may have been 2020. I don't know. But I know that he got, I want to say 2021. But I know that he eventually, and this was because, well, I can't take credit that I'm the reason why. I just know this is when I was working with him. He told me this occurred, and that they were trying to renew their contract with Tim and Eric and couldn't get in touch with Tim and Eric. This was during the pandemic. And there was a lot, and David told me that he believed it was because something weird is going on with Tim and Eric. And there's some legal things going on with Tim and Eric that Tim and Eric were probably trying to hide from Cartoon Network and their parent companies, because they may have done some things wrong within the other contract, or what I'm saying, they may have done something wrong to them or under their umbrella, I guess you could say, that could affect them, that they're trying to hide, or they literally could not get to them because they may have possibly been in jail, or going to court about some really serious allegations, according to David, that are disgusting to even think about. Some terrible things happened with Zach Galifianakis, that out of respect to him and his spouse, or if she's even still a spouse at this point, made some allegations that are the reason why they don't work together, and it's a very good reason that I would not work with somebody, and that's all I'm going to say. It's just horrific things. Things that are very scandalous for they would not want the public to know about, and would probably mess up their contracts with the parent companies if they were to find out, if they don't already know. I don't know if they know, but if they do know, they're liable because if they continue to allow it. But actually, as I'm speaking, I think I'm figuring out what may have happened. I may have just solved the mystery for myself on what really went down, but I can only speculate, honestly. I'm only giving you my theory on this. Is that contract didn't ever become fulfilled for some reason, and in on August 7th, 2021, me and David separated ties because uh, this was actually me. I resigned with him because I just told him I can't I can't hear these things anymore and not say something or do something about it, because at this point you're asking me to cover up crimes or harbor criminality and not say anything. I'm not going to do that. He's saying it's for his own safety and protection as well as my own, that he's telling me to do this. But I don't feel like that's the best path for myself or for him. That's not my call to make, but for me, it is the best call to make. To You have to stand up to bullies, and if they're out to get you, then you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So you might as well do. So I'm gonna do something about it, and I'm not gonna keep quiet about it, and I'm not gonna be bullied or intimidated. Out of I forgot to finish my story. That David was supposed to get a contract for those episodes, and when he mentioned that he wanted me, I didn't even ask him to do this. I didn't come up with this idea. He just knows that I do tarot cards and I'm really good at it. And he often has me do tarot readings for him. This is because he just likes that. I don't. I offered him once at the event that I did because I was doing those at the event, and it was really good. It was really good and helpful to him. And ever since, that was part of probably why we became friends, because I do tarot readings for him, and I don't it's fun to me and it's a challenge for me. And he enjoys it himself. So it's a win-win, but it's just for fun, but anyway, the point is, I'm sorry, I'm getting off track again, but I think I've forgotten the point. But um, the main point is that, oh yeah, I eventually I confronted them for the third time, I think. Third time's a charm. Because I'd already confronted them twice. And the first, yeah, it was the third time. And the first time and the second time, they were polite and respectful and pretended like they took it serious, and they understood, and they admitted that they actually apologized. Okay, we'll just say that they apologized and promised to do better. Literally, I swear to God, it was almost like shamed little boys. It was Joey Lyons that I spoke to. It was just Joey Lyons that did this. He admitted to these things, like fessed up to it, apologized, and said it wouldn't happen anymore. And that was twice. First time, super apologetic. The second time, he was more in denial, but I think he did apologize, or was more like, "We'll handle it. We won't. I'll say something, and yes, I'll give the money back." Like, I'm not going to go into the story of what happened again, but um, or I'll fix it. There was a lot of different things going on, that they were doing or not doing that they should be doing and whatnot. But this third time, I had set up a doctor's appointment that he needed. It was a need for his glaucoma because he was having a hard time seeing. And I'd set these up for him several times and he'd miss his appointments or something would go wrong. And I'd have to go through all these I'd just have to go through so many things to get this done for him. And being that I'm not his daughter or not a family member or a legal power of attorney, it was very difficult to get these things done for him. And I finally accomplished that for him to get him these doctor's appointments that he needed so he could get a surgery for his eye so he could work again. They promised to give him a ride to get this done for him because he was on contract to work for them. And they caused him to miss his appointment. And it was going to be complicated all over again to go through all that to remake his appointment and take more time, and he needed it then. He needed it right to happen then, and we had to restart the process all over again. So by doing that, they could have at least gave, if they were going to drop the ball on that, the way I see it is that they should have provided a ride for him to get there if they promised and didn't hide, because this is a medical appointment that he needs to have this done so he can fulfill the contract that he had just signed for the next episode of I Love David and Beef House to David, what he had told me. And they literally were the reason why he missed his appointment, because they didn't give him enough time to make arrangements to get another ride. So he missed that appointment, and I was livid. I was livid at this point, okay? So I sent them a very angry email. Whether I should or shouldn't have done that, I guess that's anybody's, call on this, because I think I'm right 100%. Maybe I could have done it in a different way and waited when I'm not angry, or let looking back on it is 2020, okay? It wasn't 2020 the year. I mean, you know what I'm saying? 2020 vision. What I could have done, but at that time I was so angry and so tired of this. I just let them know that there's going to be legal consequences, that this is not going to be David's problem anymore. Because I'm tired of seeing this, and I've seen too much things go on that I'm keeping secret now. I don't think I should be keeping it secret. So just letting them know, this is stopping now, because now you're going to get consequences. I warned you twice, and you said it would stop and you would make it right. They promised. And the third time they did it again. And then David, literally starts reverting back to, well, they apologized and said they'll never do it again. It's like the cycle of abuse, textbook, Stockholm syndrome, going back to their abuser because they apologize in the honeymoon phase again. And it would just go, I saw this pattern from 2019 to 2021 and it's still going on today. So that's when I put my foot down with David. He called me up that morning, telling, very upset because they had yelled at him for me sending that email. But they knew I was right and they knew they were wrong. So I'm sure they were upset. I'm sure they don't like me meddling in their affairs. But this is that serious, okay? Where it was a moral dilemma enough that it was my business. And it was affecting me and my own business, my own ministry, the thing that creative project that me and David were doing together that we loved. Like, I was just doing it for love. I wasn't even making money out of it, but it was fun and it was a source of therapy for me, creative outlet for me, and fun. And I was helping somebody while I was doing it. That's why I was doing it. I wasn't expecting to make much, if anything, out of it. I was doing it out of the kindness of my heart as a patron of the arts. And they just stole that from me when we started having some success, or when I started whistleblowing on some of the things that were going on, or just questioning, is this really going on? and saying if it is, it needs to stop because somebody's watching me and other fans. And apparently, other fans also have done similar things to what I've done. I don't know that anybody stuck to it as long as me or has been tenacious as I have been or as bold as I have been. But they've all gone to the wayside, just like I was eventually discarded because David does have some narcissistic traits, but I don't believe he's a true narcissist. I think he's got so many of them in his life that he's just that way for survival. And that's why I don't work with him anymore, but I still miss him. I have been in contact with him. We almost did start working together again, and then they got involved again. And so I can't control what they do, and I can't control whether or not he stands up for himself or tries to better his situation for himself. Um, and take a stand once and for all, and just not let his bullies keep bullying him. But you cannot. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink, and that's the situation. That's the sad situation. Um, so, and the thing that I keep forgetting to explain was that when he had first gotten that contract for those two shows that he was supposed to be doing, and they would have been done by now, and they never got done. So the contract wasn't fulfilled, and I don't know why. Only thing I know is that I'm to blame for it, according to David. He blames me for that, for basically for whistleblowing. I don't know if they fired him for whistleblowing and he's blaming it on me, but he told me to put it on the internet and get involved in this. And then, but this has happened several times when I do, and he feels the pressure of it, he throws me under the bus, blames it on me, that I influenced him to stand up for himself or whatever. And so they punish him. But if he promises not to let me influence him against them anymore, uh, they'll stop abusing him. And sometimes they'll even throw him a bone, give him some money or help him out a little bit, but never enough to become independent and out from under their control where they make the money off of him and he may or may not receive any of it. But he does not receive fair payment. And I'd be willing to believe that this is the case for a lot of other employees and that this is a problem, a pattern. And Tennessee Luke is explaining some very similar, he's exhibiting some similar behaviors of trauma. Just, I'm not an expert other than as a survivor of trauma and knowing what it looks like. That's what it looks like to me. That there's a pattern of abuse going on that may or may not be related to disabilities that I believe they may have. I'm not a doctor. I cannot diagnose anything. I'm just saying that's what it looks like to me as a layperson, based on some experience and an educated guess on what it looks like from my observations. That's what it looks like to me, based on what I happen to know and have experienced and heard and seen for myself when I have. That's what it looks like. That people with certain vulnerabilities like disabilities or other protected classes of people are being exploited for profit and not paid fairly, and they are actually being abused. Like their rights are being actually violated, and their intellectual property is being stolen and used for profit that they don't get a fair pay in, and they're even though they're willingly allowing it, they don't have the true capacity to consent because either they're being lied to on some way, and there's a deception going on that they don't know about, so they don't know all the facts because it's being intentionally hidden from them in a malicious way to the benefit of the person that they're going into contract with, that's doing it to them, that's exploiting them. That they don't understand the law, they don't understand their rights, They don't understand that there may be some deficit in understanding of the situation to even consent. Like, especially if they're under duress or being lied to, it basically what I'm saying is that would make the contract void. If you sign a contract under certain circumstances that aren't legal, it's not a legal contract anymore. So they either they have breached the contract with him, or the contract was never legally done to begin with. This is what I'm speculating is going on here, but I believe that basically he's given the short end of the stick and taken advantage of for what he doesn't know on purpose for their benefit, and actually stealing his intellectual property and taking advantage of the fact of his vulnerabilities to a point that he wouldn't reasonably be able to prevent it. Um, and that's totally illegal, and it's totally wrong. It's totally unethical, and that's what it looks like is going on with David for sure. But I think it's also probably and most likely going on with other employees. And according to David, it is. But that's hearsay, like I said. And I've gotten to know a few others, and there seems to be a pattern of people having some pretty serious vulnerabilities, and there being a motive that some of their ideas that they express or say or do uh, are in theme with some of the skits of Tim and Eric, or they are actually the property of them that Tim and Eric is making property of, and it was originally their intellectual property that they actually had copyrighted in David's case, that they're making. I'm wondering if they're making money from that by keeping him under their control and not knowing about it. They're not really supposed to be getting that. He's owed that money, and I think this may be true with other absolutely production actors and employees, that they're probably owed some damages for some toxic environment issues, some illegal activity going on, that Absolute Production was profiting off, or certain bad actors there. I'm not saying like the whole company. I'm saying that certain bad actors there, starting with Tim and Eric, and some of their top employees are profiting off of really serious crimes, and at worst and at best, just it's unethical, and it's wrong, and it's hurtful, and it hurt people, and it's taking from people, and it's depriving them of their rights and violating their rights, and it just needs to stop. Like, apparently this is what I've come to understand, is that when people talk about the entertainment industry being cutthroat, this is what they're talking about, and it is borderline human trafficking. I think it's outright human trafficking, outright slave labor. Like, there's no, like, you can nice it up and make it sound different, but that's what it boils down to in a nutshell. It is forcing vulnerable people to work against their will for little to no pay, um, and using the fact that they can't do better for themselves or don't know they can, and intentionally keeping them in that position so that you can profit off of it. That's what's going on here, according to what I see. Um, at least in David's case, based on some of the things Tennessee has told me, I think it's probably has happened to him too. Although maybe not as severely coming from them, but apparently it happens to him, that he gets taken advantage of a lot from take advantage of a lot, and probably not compensated as fairly for some of the things that go wrong. Um, because there are reasons why companies that he works with are being in the entertainment industry and having a little bit of a celebrity status. It causes him to be a target. It causes him to be vulnerable to being taken advantage of. And there's actually laws in Los Angeles for that very reason, that I would, as a libertarian, I would not even agree with, except in certain cases where it actually makes sense because people get exploited if there isn't, because there's such a saturation of of that happening in the entertainment industry in Los Angeles because it's like the hub of media. So these are just my theories based on my personal observations working, working with these people and what I know. And Vera Drew actively, when David suggested that I be the genie on his show, the next episode of I Love David, and do tarot card readings, well, I don't even want to talk about the show idea because I don't want them to steal it because we're going to do this. We're going to do this show, whether Absolutely Productions wants to be involved or not. It's going to happen because nobody's going to tell me I can't do a show that I want to do or be a tarot card reading genie for David Lee Bahart. I want to be a tarot card reader. I didn't even think of that idea. That is an excellent idea. And when he told me that, like, I didn't even know he was going to say something to them about that. But he mentioned that to Vera Drew, who's the creative director. And now she told him not to speak to me anymore, said something about David's obsessed with what heritage people are for some reason. It's just a fixation he has. It's not that he's it's not that he's racist, although in a way it kind of is racism, but he has just an obsession with heritage. It's not about hate, it's just about he categorizes things in and heritage is one of the ways he categorizes people, and brought up somehow that I'm Italian, and she says, well, I'm Italian too, and I'm in the Italian mafia, and you don't need to work with her, you need to work with only me. And I am summarizing what David expressed to me of what she said, what the actual words she used. I don't know, but David says something that she said something about being in the Italian mafia, that he only needed to work with her, that he should let her be his sugar mama and just only exclusively work with him, and basically ditch me, not do anything with me, and that if that she has the power to and can and will um, stop me from doing anything in the industry, um, up to and including whatever the mafia will do to a person who gets in her way. I'm summarizing the what David expressed to me the way I understood what he was saying. That Vera Drew apparently has it out for me, doesn't like me, and David working together, and told him, no, I can't be um, the genie on his show. And now, um, now supposedly, even though they signed a contract for this, now they are no longer going to do those shows, apparently, because of me. This is David blames it on me, and I have recordings of him saying it, recordings of him angrily giving me threats that I have never ever. The reason I haven't put them out there is because they hurt my feelings, and it's embarrassing the way he's speaking to me. He has never ever talked to me like that. I've seen him get mad at other people that way before, never at me. And the only reason I can even talk about it now is because I realize, and other people have told me that who know about the situation and have seen me go through this already in the past, is that they must have said or done something to either gaslight him or lie to him to believe something that's not true about me, or they're just scaring him so bad that he's throwing me under the bus again to save his own neck, because he is or to save me, hurt to protect me, because that has happened in the past several times. So I just have to accept it for what it is, that it's an abusive situation, and that's what he's going to do. And So I guess that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And this has been long enough. And so I will save this and re-edit. I'm just gonna leave this up how it is for now. I may take it down later. I will definitely use this to put together with a bigger or a different, sum it up better with other evidence of what the story that I'm telling you. And so this is like my mission why I'm doing it. I cannot speak for Tennessee Luke and his cause, okay? I can only say that I'm in alignment with his cause in that I feel like he legitimately has some unfair um situations going on due to the fact of his unique situation. And that's as far as I'm going to go into it. And that's why to me it's similar in David's situation. And I walked into this, I did not ask to be involved in this at all. I was just a fan of David and wanted to go to a David Liebehart show that was supposed to be here in Memphis, and I volunteered to set it up and set up a show. And all I can say is be careful what you wish for, because I got it. And I opened up the portal to some strange, weird um, wormhole that of some injustices going on in Hollywood and the other realms that I guess I was open to the task, and it showed up for me. I was the student, and when I was ready, it presented itself as the teacher. And so David's my teacher, and Tennessee Luke has been my teacher, and now Tennessee Luke is my mentor as well. And how things go in Hollywood, and what's really going on in the world. And I had no idea he had uh, weathermancy skills. I'm gonna just take his word for it, because I can't say one way or the other if that's the case or not. I have to see it for myself to say one way or the other. But I think he deserves a voice, and I think he's got some interesting ideas, and I think he's got an interesting story to tell. And I also think that it's possible that he may have some disadvantages that were either exploited or caused by Absolute Productions, and or Tim and Eric, and the stuff that David told me was going on over there. And I can only imagine that Tim and Eric, I mean that anybody involved in that, witnessing that, in my opinion, it would have to be pretty upsetting to the point of traumatic. It's definitely a toxic work environment, and it seems like these guys are not getting fair royalties or compensation or whatever for what they've been through. And I think they deserve, if nothing else, to for people to know what's really going on with you know these experiences that they're um claiming, that we really need to look at all of the people in the media that are presenting one way, but we don't really know what they're like behind the scenes, and what are we really, you know, promoting and enjoying. And to me, it seems like in this case that I've been promoting, clapping at, enjoying an abusive situation. I just didn't know that's what it was behind the scenes. It was abuse going on. And I'm in a way I didn't know. So I'm not guilty of doing this because I didn't know that I was perpetuating it, and part of the problem, because I was encouraging it because I didn't know that's what it was. It was like hiding in plain sight, and I was laughing at exploitation and abuse. But now that I know, I'm horrified that 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 if that's what it is, then that can't happen anymore. I don't want that going on anymore. And I want to see David and Tennessee and any other person, whether from Absolute Production, especially people at Absolute Production that may have been affected or was treated unfairly. I want to see them get whatever they deserve, to make it right. Whatever, if it's just acknowledgement that happened, and I want them to have their own fan base that is separate from Tim and Eric, so that they get the credit that they deserve. That's the main thing, that they get the credit that they deserve for their um, intellectual property and creative minds, and ideas that Tim and Eric have been making all this profit from. Absolute Production and other companies have made all these profit from, you know, at the demise and exploitation of vulnerable people. Um, and it breaks my heart. And I'm really passionate about this to the point of madness, because that's what it does. It kind of, when something like this goes on, it messes with you, and it can make you very obsessive, and it can drive you crazy. And in some cases, in some ways, it has. It is. There's been times of psychosis for me, so paranoid about the stuff that David's telling me, that I'm thinking that, somebody's after me, and I don't know that that is not true, because there's been lots of reasons to believe that is happening. But when you're afraid and paranoid, every shadow, you're looking over your shoulder and thinking everything is connected. And I got to that point. I got to the point where I was like that guy from the show Under the Silver Lake, and chasing after the mystery of what happened to this girl that just disappears, and she gets involved in some cult, and he's obsessed with what is this cult, and why would she get herself involved in this? And then when he finally finds the answer, it's too late, and she's already there, and it's like he realizes there's nothing. He realized the answer, and he realized there's no real logical answer, and there's nothing he can do about it, and he just has to move on. And I hate to spoil the ending. If you've ever watched Under the Silver Lake, it's like 1928 Under the Silver Lake, or Under the Silver Lake 1928. I don't know which, but I recommend that, watching that. It's a long movie, and it's quite an adventure. But I feel like I went through a very similar experience, very similar rabbit holes and obsession of connecting things to the point of psychosis, where I got the bug of the Hollywood conspiracy theory, madness, that I've been called a QAnon. And like, I don't even know what that was. I'm not affiliated with any group or whatever, like that. I didn't even know what that was, but I was accused of that for saying some of these things. And I'm like, what? There are other people that know about this? There's other people saying this? Where are those people? Because I can tell you that's what's going on. And nobody told me this. Like, oh, the people involved told me this, not other people and conspiracy theorists. I used to hear these kinds of conspiracies, and I try to keep open minded about anything, because I've seen a lot. The truth is often stranger than fiction, but I didn't even believe a lot of this stuff, and I wouldn't believe a lot of this stuff unless I saw for myself. And it's causing me so much distress, honestly, to know these things. It's flavored my life in a way that I'll never be the same again. Honestly, it's that serious, and that's why I'm obsessed. So that's why I built this channel, in the first place. I literally just meant it to be my own personal channel, to keep track of videos for my own personal self that I like or want to make for my own creative purposes. And I didn't realize that, like, this is like a real media platform that you can actually get information out. I should have just never saw it like that. So, but David kept telling me to whistleblow on this, and now he's mad at me for it. And I miss my friend desperately, but there's nothing I can do about it. You can't make people help themselves, and if you just gotta accept people's boundaries. My hang up is that they don't respect his boundaries, and so I can't. I have to respect his boundaries, even if I think he should do something about this more and stand up to them more than he is right now. Um, and in this once and for all, uh, legally, through legal means, I got him all the help he needed. I got him a lawyer. That's how I started working for lawyers, is because of this. And I can get him. I still can get him the help he needs. Now I'm trying to help Tennessee Luke figure something out for himself. I don't know how I'm going to get a lawyer to take up this weather matter, but I do think that he's got some legitimate claims with Uber, and does is should be afforded some kind of help with the fact that he really is targeted, and so is David, a lot. And it's a real thing that celebrities are targeted for being taken advantage of by people within the industry and without, because they're in the public eye like they are. And I never realized this until working with David, how frequent it is that they get taken advantage of and how dangerous it is for them. That's a real thing that will cause anyone trauma. So I think, if nothing else, there's severe mental illness to the point of disability that may or may not come from trauma or wherever it comes from, but that's what it looks like to me. And that whatever can be done to help them have an easier life in their golden years, I feel like David and and Tennessee Luke and the other celebrities or people within the entertainment industry that are aging and or having difficulties within the industry not being relevant. I don't want to say it like that. They have disadvantages, and when they get older or certain things happen, like a disability or something, you know, it's hard for them to go from being a celebrity and then nobody cares about them. Like, can you imagine that trauma? That would be traumatic. And they're in a vulnerable position because they're well known, and people automatically assume if you're a celebrity you're rich, and that's not true. And they're saying and they get taken advantage of by the industry, and within the industry, by the industry, and without, on all fronts. I've seen it for myself with David, and I see it now with Tennessee Luke. And it's I'm kind of on a passion about that, and I'm passionate about disability rights, people with disabilities, with legitimate disabilities that are legitimately, I don't mean milking your disability, I mean legitimately facing unfair violations of their rights, or deprivation of their rights, and being taken advantage of people that just don't give a fuck. Sorry for that using that word, but there are just a lot of people out there that are narcissists, and they will take advantage of the weak when they can. And I've been the weak, but I am not weak. I mean, I've been the vulnerable one before, and I'm often a target myself for different reasons. I'm not a celebrity, but for different reasons, I'm also vulnerable and targeted a lot. And I know what that feels like. I know how scary it is. And I am really strong and able to handle a lot. But even I can be very broken down easily. And I can only imagine I'm strong, and it's hard for me. So I'm thinking, like, a lot of people can't even articulate how they feel or explain themselves in the way that I at least am able to when I'm in a sound mind. Maybe not when I'm in a panic state, but when I'm in a regulated state, I can express myself. There are some people that can't even do that, and I imagine how bad they must be exploited and targeted worse than me, and that horrifies me. It bothers me because I have empathy, like, to a point that it's probably like a condition, because I over empathize sometimes to the point that people take advantage of me because I feel sorry for them, and they're using that to manipulate me. And I've caught myself in situations like that. I used to wonder if that's what David was doing. I don't think so. I think he's legitimately being harmed, and uh, and abused right now with the guy that is handling all of social media right now. They have cock blocked me from David. Like there's no cock involved. I'm just it's not like that. It never has been. That's never been anything I have ever wanted to pursue. David told me that he thought of that idea in the past, but he had a dream that my mother came to him in a foreboding way in a dream and warned him to stay away from his daughter. So he decided not to pursue that. This is what he told me. And so ever since then, we established that we have only a school teacher relationship. And I want to disclaim that an appropriate school teacher relationship that school teacher should have or a counselor should have with their client or their pupil. Um, that's what me and David had, and it was very. It was I know it was beneficial to me, and I know it was beneficial to him as well for a long time. And we were a support system for each other for a long time, and I really miss that, and I really want that back. I can't force that, especially if that's not what he wants. I think it is what he wants. He's just not allowed to, or he's being lied to. And that's the only reason. If he doesn't want to, it's because he's being told something that's not true to make him feel that way. Because it always was true. Even just it always was. Like we really were legitimately bonded there for a minute because he leaned on me to do some things that really only a family member should be doing. And the only reason I was is because I could. I had the time and I could, and I felt like I was put in a scenario where nobody else would, that was at least safe. So I did because I knew what to do or I could figure it out, and I just figured it out and I did it cuz it needed to be done and there was nobody else. So I'm hurt that it we ended up having to part ways, but when I confronted the Absolute production for the last time, they yelled at him and threatened him, and he called me that morning on August 7th, 2021, after I'd sent that email say begging me to not contact them anymore, that he knows I'm trying to help, but that I don't know how seriously dangerous they are and what I'm dealing with, and if not for my own sake, for his sake, not to kick the hornet's nest anymore and just lay low until things blow over, is what he told me. And I just said this. He's told me this every single time, that he tells me to stand up to them, and then when I stand up to them, they scare him into backing down, and then tells me to back down. But at this point, this is the third time that he's done this to me, and then tells me to back down. It's like, I don't look. I'm either going to do this or I'm not. Like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Okay, you can't make these threats and then not pull the trigger on it if they don't do what they're supposed to, and it makes me look weak, and that looks me look like a liar. It makes me look bad, and but I have to respect David's wishes. If he doesn't want to pursue something that's involving him, I can't make him. But at this point, it's involving me and it's affecting me. It's literally traumatizing me. And they literally stole my my Etsy and other social media accounts I set up for him, or they were David's that he gave me permission and asked me to handle, and they fraudulently stole them out from under me, which is what I was told, that they did the same thing to that Channel 5 guy, Andrew, is it Andrew Callahan or something like that? That they almost started working with together or were working together, and they try to do the same shit to him. So I know I'm not the only one. That they will and do this kind of thing. It's probably something that is common within the industry, I would imagine, based on what people tell me and how cutthroat it is. But we have laws in this country. I'm sorry, but I'm not trying to make it in Hollywood. So if you want to blacklist me, go ahead. But I'm still going to say what I'm going to say, and I'm going to do what my constitutional right. I mean, I'm going to exercise my constitutional rights, regardless what anyone says or does. Period. And if you try to stop me, I'm going to try to do it even harder. just because you told me I couldn't or you tried to tell me I couldn't. Like I'm very willing to compromise and work with people, and I don't have to assert my authority or my rights just because I can. I'm totally willing to step back and let other people take credit to that, to just work with people to get accomplish a goal. But if I need to step up to the plate and assert my rights, I will, because I've had them violated so bad in the past, and very often are people try to violate them because I can be very nice and I am very open and I am very generous, and people will just take advantage of that, especially in that industry. It is an industry full of narcissists. So I had to learn that the hard way, but I've learned. And now that I know what I know now, I will always do things a lot more. I would do things a different way, much more tactically and on guard, involve lawyers and contracts and things, from now on, to assure these kind of things will not happen anymore, at least as far as it has to do with me. So that's my pursuit of justice. That's my soapbox. And I've thought to myself I should probably give up on this obsession and stop putting myself through this stress of even worrying about it. I can't. I can't. I I've got the bug. I've got the if you ever seen the movie, it's like if once that obsession starts, you can't undo it. And you've already, if there's some kind of conspiracy or weird thing going on that you're finding out about that they don't want you to find out, if that's even going on, then you better say something even more. I don't know. That's it's look, I'm just gonna stop while I'm ahead because I just sound crazy at that point. But that's what it does to you. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of cults in Hollywood. There's a lot of power tripping in Hollywood, and I think it just has to do with its history and the industry of Hollywood. It's gonna attract that kind of thing. It's a power hub and it's a media hub. So it's going to attract narcissistic people that are striving for power. And that's going to be, there's going to be more instances of all kinds of awful weirdness. That's the mystery behind Hollyweird and why it's so mysterious. I think I don't know if that's the point of the movie, but that's the point that I take out of it, is that there is no reason why people get caught up in these cults and allow people to talk them into putting up with things they shouldn't and doing weird things that Hollywood tends to be able to, it tends to get itself involved in and tends to propagate, and the weird stuff we hear about it and why they're so weird. There is a reason. And the reason is there isn't a logical reason. That's the mystery too. It's an endless chase. So be cautious. Like, it's interesting to look into, and I'm not saying you shouldn't look into Hollywood conspiracies, but there's reasons why they exist. I'll just tell you that. There's reasons to believe there's something weird going on with that place that I never didn't used to understand until I started working with these people and within that industry, and I see it for myself, and I was perplexed by why. And I think that's the reason, is because it's a media hub. It's a power hub, and people who are striving for power will want to dominate that and will be attracted to that, and all kinds of weird and nefarious things will go down in a power hub like that. Why do you think it's called Los Angeles? Los Angeles. Like, I don't know why it's called that, but if some fallen angels were to have fell down in that place, and there's some kind of power, portal, that's my explanation. Is something like that. It would make sense that it would be like a lightning rod for power tripping people, like for good or for evil. It's just powerful. Fallen angels were angels that got corrupted with the wanting to overstep God's natural order and overstep boundaries that were in place, that they got power happy, they got selfish, greedy, they wanted to interfere where they shouldn't be interfering, and came on earth and corrupted mankind, and interbred with mankind, and that's what a fallen angel is. And Los Angeles is called Los Angeles, where we do broadcast in Hollywood. Holyrood, it means Holyrood. Holyroot. Holyroot is where they did pagan worship and rituals involving holly roots, and there's reasons why it's called that, where they would do rituals where they worship these deities, these fallen angels or their offspring that were called Nephilim. They were like these crazy mythological creatures and giants. And we do broadcast at Holyrood, the city on the hill. Like, there's some weirdness to it that you if you research into it, it raises an eyebrow. And that's why people are into conspiracy theories, because there's some questionable things that we can't explain, and there is, yeah, and it's too horrible to accept and traumatizing to accept if it is true. And I think this is one of those things that we're just coming to realize because of modern technology and because of changes in laws and stuff. And so many people ahead of us were silenced and killed off trying to tell us what's going on. But it's finally coming out in the public worldwide and quickly and irrefutably that there is abuse happening in Hollywood and corruption happening in Hollywood, and it's in bed with the government. There's propaganda and things that are nefarious. It's not a conspiracy theory. Well, if it is, like, conspiracies are real, and having a theory about it that's perfectly sane, to theorize that there could be conspiracies of power going on, because that is what happens. That is what happens throughout history, and how both good and bad things often happen is by people conspiring together in a way to overcome another power that has conspired and connected to be in power and keep things as they are. So people that scoff at that, oh, it's conspiracy theory. Okay, and conspiracy is actually, you can charge someone legally with conspiracy, and it's a felony. So that's real. Um, People do conspire all the time, especially power tripping people that have an agenda. That's what they do. That's perfectly sane and logical to assume, and to look out for. You don't have to see a conspiracy behind every single thing, but it's also not illogical, especially if you've ever witnessed it or seen it for yourself, to to look at it and at least look at it and investigate before making a judgment one way or the other. That's just using the scientific method and logic. And theory just means you have a theory on it. You haven't decided it's one way or the other. You are rationally saying it's your theory based on what you've researched, what you've tested, and you theorize that this is what is. It's not saying it is. It's saying I can't prove it, but based on this or that, this is my theory. So don't ever tell me, oh, she's a conspiracy theory. Okay, and yes, I do have theories, and I do think, and I know that conspiracies happen, and I can prove it to you. And this is established. So that was a term, is a term coined during the MK Ultra scandals coming out, that the government used to dissuade people from looking at, oh, don't pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. They're just conspiracy theorists. Yes, because conspiracies were going on that were malicious, that were violating the public, insane, horrible things going on, depraved things going on, that are hard to believe, and that the government was conspiring behind the public's back and doing, covertly. Um, and it's not just a theory. We now know it's a fact. We have it. We've proven that happens, and that's only what we know of. That's only what we know of and have proven. Y'all, I mean, it's reasonable to suspect there's more things that we don't even know that they are doing, have done, and will continue doing as long as they can. And the only way they can is by keeping it a secret and conspiring against us. So if that makes me crazy, I guess I'll take it. But I don't think it's crazy. I think it's using logic and using critical thinking skills. And if you don't at least acknowledge that, you know what, maybe I should just, even if it sounds unbelievable, just take things with a grain of salt and at least be respectful of other the possibility that there are things I don't want to understand. Maybe I don't know. Then I should not just oh that's a conspiracy theory. It's not true. You sound like a conspiracy theory. Well then it's not true. That is ignorant. That's how bad really horrible things go on, like the Holocaust and abuse goes on because the people trying to tell others the horrible things that are unbelievable are going on actually really are going on, and it's people use cognitive dissonance because it's too traumatic or too upsetting to think about and believe that they just automatically don't because it sounds unlikely because they have uh, an idea of reality that isn't really the case. They've been lied to, or they just simply don't want to believe it because they don't want to. They just don't want to. It's either too traumatic or it's they like the people it's involving and about, or they're in. They may be considered guilty of this themselves if this reality is true, or people might find out about it. There's different motives. Anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it, and I'm finished now. Uh, Ciao, babes. Have your people call my people if you have something to say about this. Try to be respectful, but if you're not, I'll probably just still leave it if I even read it at all. But um, I'm interested in I really don't care what people think one way or the other on this about it. To be quite honest, I know what I know, and I think what I think, regardless. But what I really would like is if y'all would share this information, asking the question: Is this real, or like what is going on here? I'm not saying believe it or not believe it, but I am saying investigate into it and consider that Hollywood is not a healthy place. I think we can all look at the evidence that that's true, and that there's some it looks like conspiracy to me that they've got something going on that they know that we don't, and they've got privilege that we don't, and I don't necessarily think it's earned, and I think sometimes it keeps other people from earning so that they can in a way that is actually illegal. I'm a capitalist. I'm all for healthy marketplace, free market, but I'm against monopolies and I'm against you know corruption and um, you know cheating to win. I'm against that. So anyway, all right, I'm done. Ciao. Thanks. I can figure out how to end it.